In the last video, we started the ultimate project of making another subway. Reason being is because we had to transport all of the precious items we collected from our blaze farm, that being the blaze rods, to craft the ultimate item, gunpowder. Today, we're moving on to step number 2, that being charcoal. Usually you'd use a furnace, but in this case, we're gonna go big because in today's video, we're gonna build a super smelter on this episode of Steampunk Minecraft. You want to play mod packs with friends, but you can't seem to find a good server. And the free ones? With the big mod packs these days, free servers are just too laggy. Luckily for you, there's BISECT hosting. They host my server, and with plenty of affordable options, they can host your server too. And the best part is, they support almost every mod pack. Use code DOUBLESAL at checkout for 25% off your first order. BISECT hosting, a great site for great servers. The road to making TNT is not an easy one. To make the item, you need gunpowder, and to make gunpowder, you need nitrate, sulfur, and charcoal. So today we're going to focus on charcoal. And to build this charcoal plant, well, I already have my eyes set on a nice, precious area. A beautiful forest that is in our way. So it's time to tear it all down and get building. With my trusty tool, I was able to knock down all of those pesky trees. I collected the wood for later purposes, and then I began terraforming the ground with my drill. Yes, eventually we had a flat plane to build on. Now for our purposes, this building was going to be on tiers. That's why I had to build a staircase, because for each tier we were going to have a different function. For example, on this tier we were going to have a tree farm because, as you know, charcoal requires logs. You burn them and it becomes charcoal. So I began making this little setup here. This contraption was going to rotate, and attached to the contraption were going to be saws. Saws that would circle around and chop down the trees once they grew. Check this out. I think I've built this a couple times before in a previous video. There's the chassis, here I am gluing it all together, and here I am sticking the saws on. The blades are going to spin around, and well, that is actually spinning way too fast for my taste. It's going to have to be a little slower. So yeah, I made that little adjustment there. There are the cogs that make it move, and there we go. That is much more my speed. With the saws now spinning around, all I had to do was provide it with saplings, and over here is where all of the wood was going to go. Which brings us to the next tier. This is where we were going to build our charcoal plant. But underground, we were going to have a series of belts that was going to transport all the wood to the charcoal factory itself. The belts were going to have to be long, and in the end, this is what the setup looked like. 2 different levels for 2 different purposes. Now it was time to build the plant itself. Fire, lava, we were going to have to heat things up because this plant was going to be the ultimate incinerating machine to create all the charcoal we needed. Here I am setting it up with a schematic cannon because, as you know, it wouldn't be a double sal video if we didn't use a schematic cannon. There are the chests, and there is the cannon hard at work building our building. Yes, it was going to be a beautiful building, it was going to be a large building, it was going to be a menacing building. See, I even put a little face on it. That guy, he's burning his mouth with all the fire. Just decided to get a little creative here, veer away from the usual building style that we do, but yeah, I think it came out well. As for the inside, well, it was kind of hollow. Yeah, it's round because the building is shaped like a big boiler, you know, a big furnace, and the face behind doesn't look that nice either, but we're gonna make some adjustments. Now, it was time to set up the machine that actually made the charcoal itself, and this device was gonna be pretty simple. All we had to do was use lava underneath the mechanical belt, that way when the wood passed over, there would be a fan that blew the lava upward to cook it. And here I am designing the other little details, you know, just little walkways, that way we wouldn't have to worry about walking where we shouldn't. I added some fire to add to that fire aesthetic of this furnace that we were living in, and of course, another walkway, because in these types of plants, you can never have too many walkways to observe your machines. And you can't forget the safety railings because every building has to be up to code. Ours is a reputable operation, and we can't get shut down. And this is what it looked like once it was done. I'd say we were about halfway there, but we still had to add more. This was going to be a proper plant, and for it to be a proper plant, then we had to process more items like cobblestone. You see, I didn't want to just smelt wood, I wanted to make smooth stone as well for future construction projects, so I began constructing a small cobblestone generator, one that would mine 24/7, producing all the stone we needed for our builds. After that, I added some drills on top to make sure that the cobblestone was being broken, and that's the beauty of the Create mod. You don't have to mine by hand, the blocks will do it for you. So yeah, if you're lazy and you hate mining cobblestone, then this is the build for you. Cobblestone. Here's an overview of the setup. We had the cobblestone generator, one side processing wood, the other side processing stone. And of course, underneath, a series of belts to transport the items, because once they're processed, you have to store them in a vault. Now, we could have used a chest, but vaults are so cool. I mean, look at them side by side. When you compare the two, clearly you have a winner. Although vaults are a little tricky to use, though they do make up for it with all their storage space. You see, look how big we can make this vault. All we have to do is add more blocks and it expands. Now, for the other side, well, I like to have my build symmetrical, so we were going to have a pair of vaults. Although to have a pair of vaults, you have to have more vault blocks, which I ran out of, so I went back to the workshop to create some more. It all starts with some iron being pressed into the sheets, and then once you have a nice supply of iron sheets, you go to a crafting table and combine it with a barrel, one on top, one on the bottom, and like that you have a vault block, ready to store items. And here they are, like I said, ready to store. Now it was time to add the function that would allow us to extract the blocks out of the vaults themselves. And to do that, you're going to need funnels. Unlike a chest, you actually have to pull the items out with create blocks. You can't just look into their inventory. I added the proper additions, like the funnels that would dispense the items out in quantities of 15 onto the depots. And like that, our charcoal processing plant was finally complete, although there were some aesthetic additions I wanted to make. With the help of pistons, I wanted lava to flow on and off on command every time we activated our machines. If I lost you, then hang in there, you'll see exactly what I mean when this is done. Anyways, I added the pistons, and then after that I began creating this little channel for the lava. I did the same thing on the other side, so in the end we had 2 sets of pistons, one set for each eye of our furnace. Now how would we power this? Well, with the power of a lever and some redstone links. And to test that, we have a regular piston. When we flip the lever, the first link sends a signal to the second link powering the piston, as demonstrated here. Flipping the levers on and off causes the piston to activate on and off. So we had to do the same thing, but with our pistons up on the eyes of the boiler. For this to work, we had to add a redstone link to this gear shift, which was responsible for retracting and pushing the pistons in both directions. Then I had to add some piston poles, because without it the pistons weren't going to move forward, and once that was added, it was time to add some form of power. In this case, we were going to use fans that would act as a windmill, and this windmill, or windmills because I made multiple, they were going to rotate, and that rotational force was going to go all the way down, powering the pistons themselves. Now that we had that set, it was time to bring them to life. All I had to do was click them, and they just went. Check this out. One little click here, and oh, it's overstressed. That's why we built 3, but when all 3 are activated, there you go. Now they start working. And how did they look underneath? Well, they kind of look like ventilation fans, which is perfect for a factory of this nature. It gets really hot, so you need to vent out the hot air. Now we had the lava here. The lava was going to act as the life that would bring our eyes, well, to life. We flipped the lever, and once the lever was flipped, the lava would pour down, and our machine was living. Though the face could use some work, so I added some cosmetic upgrades. Now he's ready to get working. Once that was done, it was finally time to add the finishing touches, most of which were cosmetic. I decided to add some reinforcement structures on the inside, that way we didn't look like we were just in a giant cylinder. I even decided to add one more large fan, you know, another ventilation fan, at the end of the boiler in the back. Just to add some more texture, this place was kind of empty, but now it was full and it was almost functional. To make the fan work, I was going to use another windmill bearing, and once I right-clicked it, it came to life and the propellers began rotating. Now it's time to observe everything we put together. There is the grand fan right there. The last thing we had to do was link this lever to one of the storage vaults where all of our wood was being stored. Yes, we wanted this machine to be completely synced 100%, every component running together. Here we have a vault, and right next to the vault is a redstone link. Now this redstone link has to be on the same frequency as the lever back in the factory, and yes, the items will pass through. But to do that, the belt has to be moving in a different direction. So here's how it works. Iron goes in, but it doesn't come out. That's because we have a gear shift that's turning the belt in a different direction. But once we send a redstone signal to it via the redstone link underneath the block, then the gear shift should change the direction of the belt, allowing the iron to escape. All we have to do is flip this lever, and the signal is sent to the gear shift. Watch this. A signal is sent to the redstone link, which causes the gear shift to activate, allowing the iron to come out of the vault. Now we have the iron moving on to the belt, and everything is going correctly. All we have to do now is add some saplings to these deployers, that way we can start our tree farm. Trees are going to start growing, the saws are going to cut them down. It's a simple contraption, but it should get the job done. I put the acorns in the chest and activated the block, and the saplings were automatically planted. Now it was time for the next exciting event, watching the trees get chopped down. Well, it's not that exciting, but we did have to create a sorting system because the trees drop more than wood. They drop apples, they drop saplings, they drop sticks. All of that has to be sorted out because we don't want it clogging our belt in the furnace. So I added some funnels, and once those funnels were added, the items were sorted, and I guess you could say that our entire factory was now complete. Wood enters the factory via the mechanical belt, it goes into the chutes, and once it goes into the chutes, it comes out the other end where it's cooked with the lava. The lava converts it into charcoal, and then the charcoal goes down the chests via a sorting system onto the assembly belts where it goes into the vaults until we finally extract it with a funnel. Well, there you have it, folks, the super smelter. Now that we have an unlimited source of charcoal, we are one more step closer to achieving our ultimate goal. The creation of gunpowder, and then the creation of TNT, and after that, the destruction of everything. Actually, strike that part. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, leave a comment down below and let me know what you thought. We are going to keep building on to the steampunk world, so if you have other suggestions for me, please leave a comment down below. Once again, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. This has been Double Sal. Have a great day.